Well, hey, good evening. Welcome to night 4 of our video letters, where we're looking at the different values of Imago Dei Church, and different pastors have written video letters just speaking to the church of what does it look like to be formed around these values. So tonight, we're going to hear from a good friend of mine, Steve Ross, who planted Rise Church in Ventura, and he's going to talk to us about our value of family. But with each night, we've shown one of these videos, interviewing a different couple, a different person, and I'm here with Andrew and Josie Torres. I'll let them introduce themselves in just a second, but one quick thing, if you have not yet registered for Celebrate Generosity, that's our 5-year anniversary, please do. We're having one gathering at 10 a.m. You need to RSVP. That will help us know if you're staying for lunch or not, and the link should be in the comments. Or you can go to the website at www.imagodei.church. All right, we're going to meet Andrew and Josie, hear a little bit about their life, and then we'll hear from Pastor Steve sharing about our value of family. So, okay, Drew, Josie, if people don't know you, like, how do people get to know you? Like, what are you guys about? How long have you guys been married? Like, kids? Tell me about yourselves.
Sure, yeah. So, we've been married 16 years, right? And yeah, we've been at Imago Dei since, I don't know, a few months. Well, we've been part of the Imago Dei family for a while. You know?
Yeah. I'll tell that story a little bit more in a bit. But yeah, so we've been here for a few months.
Yeah, and yeah, I love golf. I love barbecue, and my wife and my kids. Not in that order, but
golf, barbecue, wife, kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
God, you know.
The Lord Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
All those things, but yeah. And my wife.
So I'm Josie. So we have 2 boys, and I started collecting plants since quarantine.
Yeah, you and like every other woman I know.
Yeah, probably.
Part of the plant gang.
And I like quiet times. I also like to paint, but I'm not good at all. It's just kind of like therapeutic.
All right. Oh, that's cool. That's all I didn't know that about the painting. That's super cool.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing that?
Well, not very often, but it's something that I know that I like, that I enjoy. But probably, I don't know, 10 years on and off whenever I have time.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, that's cool. So if you guys don't know Drew and Josie, part of the goal of doing these interviews is like, hey, introduce yourself to them if you see them on a Sunday. Drew actually helped organize the golf tournament that the guys just did. And Josie, there's actually like the plant thing. I guess it's quarantine. Like the trend is like, so I know there are others that like to do the indoor gardening, the planting. That's awesome. Okay, so Drew mentioned that you guys have kind of been a part of the story from the beginning. One of those lights just went out. It's okay. We're just gonna let it die. I think the other light is probably gonna die soon, and the quality of video will change. We're doing this on a low budget. It doesn't matter. But so Drew and Josie, you guys were actually at the Imago Dei launch Sunday, so they've been a part of the story since the beginning. If you don't know, Drew and Josie, they actually planted a church, Declaration Church, in the city of Bell. You guys launched what, in 2016. So they planted and launched a church in 2016, and then last year in September 2019, after 3 years, they decided to bring that church to a close, and then kind of went through a season. I've been at Imago Dei for the last few months, and so I want to hear their experience of Imago Dei, because they've kind of been from the beginning, but also I think it's just really important for us as a church to know that about their story and to learn and to hear from them. And so I want to hear from you guys, just what has this last year been like for you guys? It's been, you brought the church to a close, COVID's happened, so that's kind of a heavy year. So honestly, that was September, it's October now, so like, just, yeah, tell us about this last year. What has that been like for you guys?
Well, I don't know if you want to go first, but or me, but it's been a rough year, to be honest. Like a lot of ups and downs. Quarantine happened, and then I kind of felt like I spiritually quarantined myself, feeling just the sense of probably what someone would see as failure, of needing to close the church, being bivocational, working, 40-hour weeks and still, doing the church for, the past, 3 years, and then everything it took to kind of build up to that. And I kind of just ended that season just depleted, just like I gave it my best shot and like just felt that, again, I needed time to kind of be a son. There was a whole lot of compartmentalization of like myself as an employee, as a husband, as a father, and as a person, pastor, all those things, and I didn't feel like I had enough time to be a son, and just sit before scriptures and God. And so just in that whole period, I've shared with you and a few others that I kind of turned inward on myself and kind of said, I'm going to kind of just do Drew, for a while, and not kind of be focused on church or ministry or anything like that. But I felt that in spite of that, God has been faithful to pursue me in my own self quarantine, spiritually, where I've just kind of I'd let like rhythms kind of just fall by the wayside, and felt that again just unworthiness, and just different things. And so but again, God has been faithful, through the church family, through people like you, other pastors, even Pastor Steve Ross, like just reaching out and just kind of being there to just encourage me, and just as a person. And then for our family, I know it's been a rough season, quarantine and being stuck in the house. And I love being outside, and when they shut down the golf courses, like that was trouble for me. But other than that, like I think I've learned a lot about myself, because there was no sports, there was no anything, and I was forced to deal with my continual need for sanctification, and to be to grow closer to the Lord. And it's still a process. There's ups and downs and peaks and valleys, but that's how it's been kind of for me. And I want to give you an opportunity. Sure.
Yeah, it's been difficult. I think what Andrew said about learning how to be like just sit before the Father, and not be so busy trying to do ministry or trying to keep a work going, sometimes in your own strength, was a change that we needed to make to, hey, we need to slow it down. Not because the work wasn't worthy, but it was because we just we were doing a couple things, we were doing so much that we couldn't do the main thing, and so, or we weren't doing the main thing well, and we were starting to tap into what was left of our strength, and that's how we ended up, I guess, in my opinion, depleted. So it really did put a lot of things in perspective. And coming to Imago Dei, one of the things that really has stood out is the order of the, I guess, mission, or the 3 words, right? The behold comes first. And so that is one of the things that that is very attractive to me about Imago Dei. Is like, okay, so the order is we behold first, right? And spending enough time doing that, and getting, with God, yeah, overall it has been a challenge. Obviously quarantine sandwiched right in the middle of us coming out of that season was tough. And I shared a couple people that, like at the beginning I was gripped by fear, like it was crazy. And yeah, coming out of a place of where our church plant was a very tight community, very family-like. Our kids played with each other's kids, and like our families were, we became a very tight-knit community to, kind of making sure everybody landed, in which, thank God they all did, but also there was some lonely seasons for us, especially
Yeah.
when we had to like isolate
Yeah.
in the middle of that, and then not quite like landing ourselves. You know, we had not necessarily made the decision where we were gonna land for a church.
Yeah.
You know, so we were kind of just trying to find our way to where our next step was gonna be in you know as a local church. So that was tough. Plus, you know, I'm trying to keep a place that the kids felt, you know, safe, and
Yeah.
they felt, you know, try not to keep them from going crazy from not going outside or doing the normal things, you know. So so we did find some challenges, and you know, some things we're still working out, you know.
Of course.
But it does help to be in the physical service now, and running into, you know, people, and getting to know some people at Imago Dei. And right now, what's been probably most refreshing is joining a CBR.
Yeah,
So.
that's awesome. Well, I want to hear maybe a little bit more about that in a second, but just, church, I think it's just so important to hear Drew and Josie's story for two reasons. I want your story to be told for two reasons. The first is, I think if we only ever tell stories where, like, we try something and it succeeds beyond our wildest dreams in the way that we would think, then what ends up happening is we just end up performing, we end up faking, we end up lying. That actually, like, you guys took great risk in starting up a new church, and you have to be commended in that and celebrated in that. Like, and that risk doesn't always turn out how we think it is, you know, how we would hope. And that's no less reason to take a risk, to put our faith, to trust God, that God is at work, not just in what we see and what we dream of, but He's at work, and there's enduring fruit, like, beyond what we know. And we need to contend for that, or else we'll only step out when it's safe, and we'll also become fake. And so, yeah. And then secondly, I think that you guys have been faithful in telling your story in terms of saying, hey, we were depleted. We were doing things in our own strength. We put the not the main thing before the main thing. You know, you learned some lessons through the tough school of experience and that, and wisdom says, hey, like, let's learn together from that. No one is exempt from that, and you guys won't be exempt from that in the future. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, just because we learned it once doesn't mean we'll not need to keep learning that again and again. That, I mean, just as you said that, I was like convicted of, like, yeah, like the behold become display. Like, it always needs to come back to, like, there's a reason why behold is that first and fundamental thing. It's the reason why we talk about our values. The glory of God is the first and fundamental thing. And it's so crazy how quickly we forget that. And just over and over again, you know? And so there's the need to be replenished and to be a son, and just to, like, I don't know, so it's two opposite things. Like, I want to hear your story, because I want people to take the risks to, in a sense, do great things for God. And yet the other side is also to say, like, you don't need to do great things for God. You are a son, and we hold both those things in tension. It's that, like, we can risk it all, and yet also, like, there's a contentment of just being His.
Yeah.
And your guys' story, I want to just even honor you guys and commend you guys. Your guys' story, like, tells that, and I see Jesus in your story, and it hasn't been easy. It's not over, you know, but there's a faithfulness piece to that. The other thing I wanted to ask you guys about, because you guys have been a part of Imago Dei twice now.
Yeah.
And you guys, and you've been here since the beginning, as we're thinking through the past 5 years. So they were a part of the church for the first 3 months that we launched, and you've been a part during this COVID season, so 2 crazy seasons. And you've been like a sister church running alongside of us. So I think you guys have, like, a really unique perspective into Imago Dei that maybe a lot of people don't. So if you were to just offer, I don't know, like a word of encouragement to the church of something that you see that is, like, yeah, has blessed you, that is, like, really cool, that excites you, yeah, what would that word of encouragement be?
And there's a ton of things just to celebrate what God has done, you know, over these last 5 years. And I think just the way that I know that most recently during the COVID season, how Imago Dei was able to open up, the outside to other churches, and like I love the fact that the church is working collaboratively. Like that's what I've always loved about Imago Dei. Like it's never been just about the Imago Dei story, but you've seen God's blessing upon Imago Dei because you've been about the kingdom, and so you just see the value of the kingdom of God just over everything that gets done. Kids ministries have been awesome. Even in the COVID season, I think the team that has put everything together, from the book reading clubs that were going on, going through Lion Witch and the Wardrobe.
I forgot about that.
That was dope, and I love like the creativity
Yeah.
that comes out. You just don't see that, and I grew up in the church, and just to see how, again, you see God's creativity come out through Imago Dei and things that have been going on. I love the family ministries that have been coming up, Edwin and Emily, and just the blessing that they are. Memo and SB, like, just we're big fans of Memo and SB, like I know everyone is. But again, just and then all the hospitality team, especially during COVID, there's just like they don't serve with fear or timidity. There's like a confidence of just knowing that God is just superintending everything. So, and then to see where Imago Dei started from to where we're at now, I just I have high hopes for Imago Dei's continued just impact in Southeast LA area, gateway communities, and just the furthering of God's kingdom. Like it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that has really stood out, obviously I've had time to reflect and things like that as we've been, trying to figure out where we're going to land and things like that. But just remembering the times in the elementary when we first were there, and, the setting up the chairs and things like that. And then, I remember when all of a sudden the school was not open. I don't even think you were there.
Yeah, that was the one weekend I was gone.
You were not even there that one weekend, and I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
And at that time we were, I think, already had launched, but we were still kind of with our ear with what's happening with Imago Dei, and then I remember, I believe we ended up at your backyard or something at some point. And then eventually I think we heard that you were in the park. Anyway, so we're reflecting on all of that, and then seeing where the church landed, which is at this building currently, and just thinking God knew ahead of time that quarantine was, that the COVID was gonna come, and look at this beautiful outdoor space.
I know.
And I'm in awe of it. Just looking at it, and I'm like, there's something beautiful about meeting in that outdoor space. And I just remember just thinking the first Sunday that we went, and I just remember telling Andrew this is beautiful. No one's even complaining that there's no AC. With other seasons in life, it's and people are just happy to be there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that it's 100 degrees. It doesn't matter. People are showing up, and just for the pure gospel and pure fellowship of the church, and I thought that was beautiful, and still think it's beautiful, other than that, I would say the ministries that has been blessing our kids since day one, both the youth and the kids, and just feeling they feel very much a part. So it helped, especially during the quarantine. When we're in tighter quarantine. So that's been awesome.
Yeah. If you actually were to give a shout out, who's someone that you've met at the church, not me or Krista, Memo or SB, who's someone you guys have met at the church? You're like, oh man, this person's cool. It's been great getting to know them or meet them.
Guys like Manny Cruz, Ruben Gonzalez. There's a
golf
affinity of golf.
Yeah.
But Manny can grill. He's got some good barbecue game. When I grow up, I want to be like him. You know. I think he's like that with Pastor Jeff, your father. He's dope too on the grill. So, those are just two guys that have been just really cool. Outside of just you and Memo, that have kind of been a nice landing spot for myself.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll give a shout out to my new CBR.
Yeah.
So I've gotten to know Jackie and MJ. So those are the two people that I'm getting to know right now, but definitely excited to know them a little bit more and kind of.
They just got a delivery on their porch. It's live, we're just doing it.
Yeah. So just kind of breaking open Hebrews, and and there's also been refreshing just to, meet with humans and talk about, life and get to know each other a little bit, and how God works in our life. So that's been really refreshing.
Awesome. Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you guys for sharing. Church, one thing I love about Drew and Josie is, as you guys shared about even Declaration Church, was the family aspect, and that was so true of that church. That's something that we as a church want to embody. And that's what this Steve is about to share about. And I love the way that you guys serve and love and bring people in. That's a gift that you guys have, and I wanted to put you guys on the camera in front of some people. So if you don't know Drew and Josie, introduce yourself, get to know them. They're just an amazing couple that are just a blessing, not just to Imago Dei, but to Southeast LA and their heart and their eyes for our geography. So we're going to transition. Pastor Steve is going to share with us about this value of family. Steve is pastor of Arise Church in Ventura. He planted that last year, and he's the diversity coordinator for Acts 29 in the West Coast, and so he fulfills a couple different roles. Steve has 8 kids, I believe. It's kind of tough. I say as a person with 5, it's tough to keep track. I think it's 8 kids. And so Steve is a role model of mine. I'm going to catch up to him one day. No, Krista, I won't. Don't worry. And if you know Steve, he's been a blessing. He's spoken at our Become conferences. He's preached for us. He's just been a voice in the church throughout the last few years that has blessed us continually. And so, here's Steve.
Imago Dei family, what's up? It's Pastor Steve at Arise in Ventura. Miss y'all. Love and miss you guys dearly. When DJ reached out to me and asked me to record a message, thinking about your anniversary, I feel honored, and also just like, man, how could I not, want to celebrate in what God is doing through your church. I just, before I met most of you guys, I already loved you because I love the town. Some of you guys know, it was only 3 years ago that we moved up to Ventura and moved out of your area. And that it wasn't even that we just lived there, but it was really home base. I'm born and raised in the city of Linwood. So is my wife. And Jamie was actually born at that Kaiser on, Rosecrans? Rosecrans right there in Clark. And we gave birth to our oldest daughter at that same Kaiser. And so as soon as you cross over, and head your way into Downey, that was really our stomping grounds and our territory of just the city we grew up in and loved. So anyway, all that to say, we hold you guys really dearly to our hearts, and we consider you to be an extension of us, And when DJ reached out to me, he asked me to really talk about something that I think ties in with that. He asked, what is the importance of the church and family and the church as a family? When we planted our church in North Long Beach, we actually started by gathering a core group of people around that book that had been written when the church was a family. And we wanted people to understand, hey, the church is not a social club. The church is not this at-will buffet, you come in and get what you like, what you don't like. The church is actually a family, and it's not even that it's like a family. The church is the family of God. And so we wanted people to stop looking at that word brethren or the word brother or sister in the New Testament as if it was a punctuation mark, but to take it literally. And I think that that's important. And so even as I talk about how you guys are near and dear to us and how we see you as an extension of us, I think really what I'm saying is, something that comes out of our philosophy of ministry as a family on mission. And that's the Rosses as well as Arise. And I know that language translates into your DNA as well. Being a family on mission, right? Where you have an oikos, and those who are around you are part of your extended family. And it's not even safe for you to think about doing things individually. I think that has to be important for you as you move forward. Lord willing, you're growing. You got new people coming. You have more missional communities being launched. You got new leaders growing up. You even have some of your core leaders and members going to plant other churches, and you're sending people out and those things. You got to be able to see that the church is really, the people in the church are a part of you, right? And I think there's always this analogy of the family that stands over against, when you think about a household, the church can look like a family as a household, the household of God, right? 1 Timothy chapter 3 talks to us about not, when you think about an overseer and his responsibility, it isn't that he can build a good business. It isn't that he's a great entrepreneur. It's that he manages his family well. And we're told that if he can't manage his own household, then how can he care for the household of faith? And so anyway, when you think about the church, think about it as a household and think about family, and then compare that over to other households that you might be familiar with. I've done some international travel, and I've seen some really large households, what most of us consider to be orphanages. And what are the differences between a household that is a family unit and a household that is an orphanage? Well, one of them, everybody's all in. There's all hands on deck. There's shared responsibility, and the community or the group is the focus, the advancement of every single person. And on the other side, with the orphanage, a lot of times you got 1 to 2 people who are doing all of the work. They are the 1 to 2 overworked staff, and then you have many underserved kids, right? You have underserved people in that household who are essentially being catered to or served by just a couple people. The system and the structure is what is tended to. There's a focus on each individual, and I would say that there's even kind of this just organizational focus. Whereas again, with that family household, it's about the care of the whole group. It's about community. It's about the fact that we all do life together. And if you think about what the Bible tells us about the family of God and even about our salvation, salvation was never meant to be an individual enterprise. It's a community project. And so as you think about the growth that you guys have, the expansion, the multiplication, and the fact that you'll continue to do that over time, my encouragement to you would be to deepen sanctifying relationships and see that God wants you to embrace one another as family, right? He wants you to be one family together on mission, and he wants you to even see people who come to faith in Jesus Christ and see their belonging to be like right in the middle. There's no cliques, there's no upmanship, there's no stratospheres that have to be climbed in order for your dignity and significance and your expressions of faith to be valid here. But no, we're all a part of the family, and so we're all important, no matter what our age or our roles and responsibilities are. We share together. There's a mutual care, right? I think that that's important. So, my real encouragement to you is like, as you think about this next season and you look at what God has done, celebrate and be thankful for the ways in which you've actually seen that God has made you a family. I know you can look back and you can see those amazing and supernatural occurrences where God was at work and is at work. And you can see how God is giving you grace, not just to be a club of people who are here transactionally, but a covenant community who are indispensable members of each other and who are brothers and sisters in the Lord, one household, right? With one Lord, one faith, one baptism. It's vital as you move forward. Sometimes when churches grow and as they get older, they lament the fact that, man, it just used to be 15 of us in a living room, right? It used to be just 40 of us, or we had this banging fellowship that was so intimate and so close. And I think the only reason why they have to lament that is because they get away from the priority as family. Families grow, families extend. You've seen it, right? A family like mine, I imagine one day, right now we got this big panoramic picture where we got 4 of our kids on this side and 4 of our kids on that side. We got 8 kids, and so it's a long picture, right? And I think if each one of them gets married, and if they have a couple kids, what's that picture going to look like one day? Well, the truth of the matter is that it still be intimate and close if we tend to, and we care for each other, and we love one another, like a family should. And so just I don't know. It's one of those things where maybe the biggest thing is not really focusing on family. It's focusing on love. That love rules, right? That the structure or the philosophy of ministry or whatever the post-COVID regathering, reappearing is going to look like. I mean, all that stuff. Those things don't rule. What rules is love. And so we do the best for each other, even at the highest expense, to ourselves. That kind of thing will set you up for tremendous blessing and reaping the fruits that you may have if you've been around for a while, for the entire time the church has been around. Like it'll set you up to continue to enjoy those things and to savor those moments. So God bless you guys. I really love y'all. I miss y'all. Hope to see you soon. And we're praying for you here. We're so thankful for your partnership in the gospel and the fact that we are an extension of you. And so, we're all in part of Acts 29, right? We're a diverse global family, and even beyond just Acts 29, we, are just close by proximity, by relationship. And so I miss you guys again. Hope to see you again. And I'm sure that it won't be too long. God bless you.